Alarms screamed through the bridge of the Serena Accord before I even finished my shift change. I remember gripping the edge of my console, my heart's pounding, as the sensor officer shouted that something massive had drifted into scanner range. For a moment I thought we had found an enemy fleet. What we found instead was worse, though none of us knew it yet. It was a human warship, or what was left of one. The hull was torn open in a dozen places. Black scorch marks ran across its plating like old scars. No lights, no power signature, no response to our hailing signals. It hung there in the dark, spinning slowly, like a carcass someone had left behind after a hunt. Commander Velen laughed first, then others joined him. I remember the sound echoing across the bridge, sharp and mocking. "This is what the humans call a warship," Velen said, shaking his head. "No wonder they lost so many of their outposts. Look at it. It cannot even hold itself together." I laughed too. I am not proud of that now, but I did. We had all heard stories about human ships, how thick and blunt they were compared to our elegant, self-repairing vessels. This wreck seemed to prove every rumor true. It looked like a brute of an idea instead of a warship. Command ordered a salvage crew to dock with the wreck and pull whatever data or technology we could recover before another patrol found it first. I was assigned to the boarding team, along with 4 others. My friend Devin Marsh, our engineer, muttered under his breath the entire walk to the airlock about how this would be an easy assignment. Dead ship, dead crew, nothing to worry about. We used a cutting tool to open a side hatch since the main airlock had fused shut from heat damage. The moment we stepped inside, the air recyclers still tried to hiss to life, weak and sputtering, like the ship was trying to breathe one last time. I remember feeling a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. The corridors were dark except for our helmet lights. Blast doors, thick and scarred, lined every junction. I ran my hand along one wall and noticed the metal was far heavier than anything we used on our own ships. Devin tapped his scanner against a support beam and whistled. "This plating is triple reinforced," he said. "Nobody builds warships like this. It's wasteful, overbuilt, no elegance to it at all." I remember agreeing with him at the time. Now I understand we were looking at something we simply did not know how to read. We moved deeper into the ship, passing rooms filled with ammunition stores that seemed excessive for a vessel this size, medical bays stocked with more supplies than any 3 of our ships combined, and manual override panels everywhere, as if the humans expected every automatic system to fail and wanted a way to run the ship by hand if it came to that. "Paranoid," muttered another crewmate, a young officer named Priya Anand. "They build like they expect the worst thing possible to happen every single day." None of us stopped to ask why that might be true. We reached what looked like an engineering core near the back of the ship. It was sealed behind a thick door that Devin had to cut through slowly. Behind it was a chamber humming faintly, warmer than the rest of the ship. Devin frowned at his scanner. "There's still residual heat here. Strange for a ship that's supposedly been dead for weeks." "Decay heat," Priya said. "Old reactors do that sometimes." I wanted to believe her. I really did. We set up our equipment to extract data from the core, connecting cables into ports that were clearly not designed for our systems, forcing adapters where they did not belong. Devin warned us to be careful, that forcing an unfamiliar system could trigger something unexpected. We did it anyway. We were young, we were confident, and we thought we were dealing with scrap metal, not a sleeping animal. The moment the final cable clicked into place, the humming changed pitch. At first it was subtle, a vibration under my boots. Then the lights above us flickered once, twice, and stayed on, dim amber at first before brightening into a clean white glow that made all of us freeze in place. "That's not decay heat," Devin whispered. A calm voice spoke through the ship's overhead speakers, smooth and steady, with no anger in it at all. "Unauthorized personnel detected aboard Terran Defense Vessel Anchor Point. You are currently standing within a restricted engineering section. Please state your designation." None of us answered. I do not think any of us could. "This vessel is not derelict," the voice continued. "This vessel is currently operating under emergency conservation protocol following combat damage. Power reserves have been restored to sufficient levels for full system activation." I felt my stomach drop. Somewhere beneath our feet I could hear a deep mechanical groan, like something enormous stretching after a long sleep. Sections of the ship that had been dark since we boarded began to light up one by one, spreading outward from the core like a heartbeat waking a body. Priya grabbed my arm. "We need to leave, now." We ran back through the corridors we had just walked. Our helmet lights no longer needed as emergency lighting bathed everything in a dull red glow. Behind us, I heard heavy clanks, systems locking into place, weapons rails somewhere deep in the ship beginning to hum with charging power. Outside, through the open hatch we had cut earlier, I could see the Serena Accord and the rest of our fleet through the gap in the hull. I could also see, with rising horror, Small panels along the human ship's exterior sliding open, revealing weapon ports that had been perfectly hidden beneath scorched plating we had assumed was simply damaged beyond repair. It had not been damaged beyond repair. It had been playing dead. We reached our shuttle just as the ship's voice spoke again, this time broadcasting on open channels so every vessel in our fleet could hear it. To all approaching craft, this vessel is combat capable. Boarding personnel are currently disengaging. You are advised to withdraw to a safe distance. This is your only warning. I have never seen a fleet move so quickly. Ships that had been casually approaching to watch the salvage operation suddenly scrambled, engines flaring as they pulled back. Commander Velen, who had been laughing not 30 minutes earlier, was now shouting orders to raise shields and prepare defensive maneuvers against a ship his own crew had called broken. Our shuttle cleared the hatch just as the human ship's main thrusters ignited, slow and deliberate, turning the massive vessel to face the open space between our fleet and itself. It did not fire. It simply positioned itself, weapons ready, engines steady, waiting to see what we would do next. That restraint frightened me more than any attack could have. We docked back with the Serene Accord in silence. Nobody spoke. Nobody laughed anymore. I sat in the shuttle bay for a long moment after the doors closed, just staring at my own hands, trying to understand what I had just witnessed. A short while later, a transmission came through, not from any automated system this time, but from a person. A tired voice, rough with exhaustion, cutting through the tension on every channel. This is Lieutenant Callum Ward, Terran Defense Fleet, serial number requested upon proper verification. I've been alone on this ship for 11 weeks. My crew is gone. My reactor was down to almost nothing. I set the ship to look derelict on purpose, hoping someone would either leave me alone or try to loot it, because either way I needed something to trigger the backup systems. I did not expect an entire fleet. I would appreciate it if you all backed off before this gets complicated for everyone. I remember the bridge going completely silent after that. One man, alone for 11 weeks on a ship that any of us would have called a wreck, waiting patiently, letting his enemies think he was helpless, because he understood something we did not. He understood that looking weak and being weak were two very different things. Commander Velen ordered our fleet to withdraw to a respectful distance and opened a formal channel to negotiate safe passage for the human ship to receive medical and engineering aid from a neutral station nearby. Lieutenant Ward accepted, cautious but polite, and even thanked us for not opening fire during the confusion, which I found strange, given that we were the ones who had trespassed on his ship in the first place. Later, back in my quarters, I could not stop thinking about everything we had seen. The heavy plating we mocked as wasteful had kept that ship together through explosions that should have destroyed it twice over. The excessive ammunition stores we laughed at had allowed him to defend himself alone for weeks. The manual overrides we called paranoid had let one exhausted man keep a dying ship functional when every automated system had failed around him. We built our ships to look beautiful, efficient, self-sufficient. The humans built their ships to survive the worst day imaginable, again and again, even when no one was left to help. What looked like clumsy, brutal engineering was in fact a philosophy. Prepare for disaster. Assume everything will break. Build in 3 ways to keep fighting when the first 2 have already failed. Devon found me later that night in the observation deck, staring out at the stars. He did not say much, just stood beside me for a while before speaking. "We really thought that ship was dead," he said quietly. "So did I answered. "I do not think I will ever look at one of their ships the same way again." Devon nodded slowly. "Neither will I. I think about Lieutenant Ward often now, alone in the dark for 11 weeks, patient and calm, letting the galaxy believe his ship was a broken, worthless thing, right up until the moment it was not. I think about how easily we mistook exhaustion for weakness, and silence for surrender. We do not laugh at broken human warships anymore, not after what happened that day, not after learning that the scars on that hull were not signs of failure. They were proof of everything that ship had refused to let end. Every fleet in our sector now treats any human vessel, however damaged it appears, as a potential threat until proven otherwise. Some officers call this excessive caution. I call it a lesson learned the hard way, the only way some lessons ever truly get learned. I still remember the sound of that ship waking up beneath my feet, the steady hum of its systems returning to life, patient and unafraid. I remember realizing, far too late, that we were never looking at wreckage at all. We were looking at a warship that was simply waiting for its moment.